Greetings, everyone. Pete Pardo here from Sea of Tranquility. Welcome to day 31 of my 31 must-hear bands of the 21st century. That's right, we have arrived at the finale, the last day, the last band. Well, you're going to get a whole episode right after this one of all the honorable mentions and things like that. But this is my last of my top 31. Perhaps some might say I saved the best for last. I don't know. It all depends on what you like, right? This particular band formed in 2003. They're from Austin, Texas, another U.S. band. So I know some people were like, my God, Pete, you had a lot of international bands and, Swedish bands and whatnot. How about some more American bands? Well, we got a band from Texas here today. Another band from Texas. I did Wolf at a couple days ago. Today we've got another one. And these guys have made a really good name for themselves over the years. Call them a metal band. Call them a stoner rock band, call them a bluesy, psychedelic hard rock band, call them a doom band. They kind of do a little bit of everything. Of course, I'm talking about The Sword, or The Sword, The Sword, right? Very cool band. A lot of people seem to dig them. I had to include them in this series. I like them quite a bit. They have seen their exposure grow quite a bit in more recent years. They've done some tours with big bands. They've been a little quiet for a couple of years. But, since 2006, their first album, they've been pretty notable, We've got, in the band, we got John Cronise on vocals and guitar, Kyle Shute, all right, on lead guitar, Brian Ritchie on bass and keyboards, and Santiago Jimmy Vela III on drums. That's the current lineup of the band. So we've got Age of Winters came out in 2006. They followed that up with Gods of the Earth, 2008. The early stuff is definitely a little more doomy and stoner type of material. Warp Riders from 2010. Great concept album. Heavy sci-fi lyrics. Pretty heavy album. Might be my favorite. All right. I know some people tend to have a real distinct favorite when it comes to these guys. 2012, they came out with Apocryphon, however you say that. Love that cover, right? That's the slipcase, because if you kind of take it out, it's a little bit different. All right. This also is another one of my favorites. Then in 2015, you got High Country. Here's where their music starts to take on a little bit more kind of straightforward, bluesy hard rock with some psych influences. A lot more psychedelia coming into the music on the last two albums. They also released in 2018 Used Future, which I have. Can't track down. Might be in the car. Not quite sure. Might just be out of place. Maybe because it is the last couple of years. Probably didn't get filed correctly, so it's sitting amongst a massive other things that need to be organized and put away correctly, which I am, have been a little lax on. I need to take an entire weekend to recategorize all my stuff, and weed through stuff I don't need anymore. But yeah, but the last two albums, definitely High Country and Used Future, definitely less of the kind of big doomy stoner type stuff, little more accessible, like standard type riffage with the little psych elements thrown in as well, but definitely good. But I'm thinking that probably the band picked up a lot more fans on the last two albums that hadn't listened to them previously, because I think their music is becoming more straightforward rock music. But if you like the heavier stuff, then I would say go for Age of Winters, Gods of the Earth, and Warp Riders are probably their heaviest albums. Although Apocryphon is also pretty heavy, pretty beefy, lots of great riffs on there. And their biggest influence is Black Sabbath, obviously. And so if you're gonna kind of take a look at their music and think, well, what exactly does it sound like? Take kind of Master of Reality, Black Sabbath, but throw like a kind of a Texas twist into it. So they have a little bit of ZZ Top as well there, and their music is definitely pretty catchy and accessible, I think, even though like some of the early stuff is pretty heavy. And then on the latter two albums, they're definitely much more accessible. But I really dig them. I think they come up with some killer riffs. Between John and Kyle, man, the two of them just, really just big, infectious, heavy, lumbering riffs, which I dig quite a bit, and the rhythms are really good. So as far as like certain songs that you might want to check out, the Chronomancer, the Chronomancer. I mean, it's hard to pick apart Warp Riders because it kind of needs to be taken all as a whole. But if you go listen to part 1, The Archer and the Orb, which is the first part of that whole epic, and that's comprised of 5 tracks, that's really, really good. From the early albums, The Frost Giant's Daughters, excellent. From High Country, Tears Like Diamonds and Empty Temples, really good songs. High Country's really good too. The last 2 albums also remind me a little bit of like early Grand Funk Railroad. So it's less kind of doomy and more just kind of like, garagey, psych, hard rock, bluesy hard rock type of thing. And then, what else can we recommend here? I mean, really any of these albums are really, really strong and really, really fun. I know people who just dig these guys big time, and I know plenty of people who cite The Sword as kind of like their favorite band of the last like 20 years or so. So be interesting to see what you guys think. So for those of you who already do know The Sword, let us know what you think of them below. If you've never listened to them before, here's what I'm going to tell you to do. If you want a really great taste of the early stuff, check out Warp Riders, that cool cover. If you want to go see what they're kind of all about today, I would say check out High Country, or the latest one as well. The latest one is also really good. I think I like High Country a little bit better than Use Future, but your mileage may vary. But any of these other albums are just really, really, really fun, good, rockin', heavy, bluesy, stonerific, doomy, a little bit of psychedelia thrown in there, tons of groove, good stuff. So there you have it, everybody. The Sword is my final pick here. Day 31 of my 31 must-hear bands of the 21st century. Stay tuned momentarily because you're going to get another bonus episode with a whole bunch of my honorable mentions just kind of fired off at you, as well as a bunch of new bands comprised of veterans. All right, so there's a whole bunch of those as well. So thanks for watching, everybody. I must say, I was pretty surprised all month that as many people watched this daily show as they did, because I quite frankly didn't think many were going to watch this at all, because when I do the new album reviews each and every week, they get very, very minimal views compared to everything else on the channel. So I've been in recent months kind of disheartened that people don't seem to want to explore new bands and new albums, new music. But as we saw here, each and every day, that was not the case. It's pretty cool that 4,000 to 6,000 people each day watch these and had something to say and investigated the music. And even if out of 31 bands this month you found 5 new ones that you really liked out of the 31, that's pretty good. That's 5 new bands you weren't listening to last month, right? So and if you found more than that, very cool. And like I said, I saw a lot of people's comments who were listing bands that I haven't even heard of, because there's been so many bands that have come out of the woodwork since the start of the 2000s. So there's so much out there, so much out there. So if you think music and rock is dead, you are absolutely wrong. It's not. There's plenty of great new bands and new music playing rock music, whether it's all forms of metal or hard rock, classic rock, prog rock, fusion, straight up, whatever. There's so much out there. So never despair. There's always a favorite band for you right around the corner that you haven't heard before. So thanks for watching, everybody. Visit us on the web at www.seatranquility.org. We're on Facebook. We're on YouTube, all together, all the damn time. Stay tuned for the Honorable Mention show coming right up. And then starting tomorrow, it's back to school month. So this, I was actually going to do my favorite twin guitar bands, but that's going to be pushed till October, because everywhere I turn, people are talking about back to school, kids going off to college, kids going back to grade school, going into high school. Kids are going to school everywhere. And it brings me back, remembering, late August, early September. Man, I remember going back to school. Kind of, because I'm really old, and it was a long time ago. But I started to think, and we got a couple suggestions from people saying, well, Pete, why don't you do a whole series on your favorite albums of your high school years? And I'm thinking, you know what? That's a great kind of play-along show, because each day I can pick out, for the month the 30 most listened to and favorite albums of mine from my high school years in 1980 to 1984. And then each and every day, you guys are going to play along. So basically what I'm asking everybody to do starting tomorrow is each day pick another of one of your favorite albums that you listened to specifically during those 4 years you were in high school. Okay, so your high school favorites, they didn't have to be released during that time, but your 30 most played absolute favorite albums that you were into from the, whatever years you went to high school. Okay, so whatever 4 years you went, that's your time period. So for mine, it's 80 to 84. So starting tomorrow, each and every day, I'm going to give you another one of those favorite albums of mine that I listened to a ton while I was going to high school. So it's back to school month here on the channel. We kind of started it off just the other night with the Hudson Valley Squares, where we were talking about some of our favorite songs from our high school days that made you remember school. Well, now it's going to be, let's go back in time and talk about our favorite albums from our high school years. So that's coming up tomorrow, so don't miss that. So please subscribe if you haven't already, and definitely click on that notification bell so you don't miss any of these episodes. We also have the links below to our Ko-Fi page and our merch page, so please investigate those as well. And we'll see you shortly with the Honorable Mention show here, and then tomorrow morning on our favorite albums from our high school years. Back to school month. So thanks for watching. I am Pete Pardo. We'll see you then. Take care. Bye-bye.